We're alive. Hi.
Bridges, bridges in the sky, they are shining in the sun. They are stone and steel and wood and wire. They can change two things to one. They are languages and letters. They are poetry and all. They are love and understanding, and they're better than a wall. They are languages and letters. They are poetry and all. They are love and understanding, and they're better than a wall. There are canyons, they are yawning in the night. They are rank and bitter anger, they are all devoid of light. They are fear and blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and soul foreboding, and they're oh so very wide. They are fear and blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and soul foreboding, and they're oh so very wide. Let us build a bridge of music, and let us cross it with a song. Let us span another canyon, let us right another wrong. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off
on our way. We will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. Thank you, Bill Staines. Appreciate that, letting us use bridges on our bridges song, on our bridges programming. That's from the first Million Miles. We asked Bill if we can use that on bridges programming, a humanitarian station. We are here tonight, it's Friday evening, and we are talking about actually the Pope and Buckminster Fuller. And I'm going to see if you can watch us here 3 or 4 times a week, and we have other programming. Bridges Programming is a humanitarian station, and it's
a startup.
It's a startup. It's an actual startup. And the goal here is to bring together, for the benefit of humanity, the economic system. In other words, the economic system isn't working very well for most people. Just the pirates, and who calls the pirates? The pirates is Bucky. We're going to do Susan's been reading a very big book by Buckminster Fuller.
It's called Critical Path.
Critical Paths.
And we paths.
Just
one path.
Critical path.
Yeah, just one path.
And she takes notes, and we're going to try to bring you Buckminster Fuller, who died 30 years ago, but talked about a human renewable energy measure.
Bring him into the conversation just through quotes.
We're going to be interviewing Buckminster Fuller.
Yeah, right.
But
virtually.
We're resurrecting Bucky. And the reason why we want to resurrect him is he had very good thoughts. And the thoughts are so much similar back then as it was during Plato's day or during, right now, the Pope's day. The difference between Bucky and the Pope and the beginning is, for the first time in history, we have a physical measurement for what a renewable energy, a human renewable energy is. And I want to try to bring that out. It is 1 hour of life, because of so much technology and so many natural resources and our ingenuity over years, thousands and thousands or millions of years, depending on how you look at it. We are suggesting that every human being in the world, for 1 hour of work, they have to work,
Well, we're just choosing it as an arbitrary thing, 1 hour.
Well, actually, we
I mean, it's not provable yet.
It could be, but right now, according to people we know and spoke with, about
It's a possibility that it could be
it's a
one.
possibility.
It's certainly not going to be more than 2 or 3.
There's no point.
Yeah,
we
I
don't
know.
But we're saying for minimal amount of your life work, not 20 hours a day or 10 hours a day. We're not saying you shouldn't work more, because people who like to work, they should. It's an individual choice. But for 1 hour a day, basic 1 hour a day, all needs, education, food, and shelter, basic needs met, would happen. And that stops pretty much the wars. Now, I'm not telling you that everyone's going to just work 1 hour a day. Everyone's going to want to work with where they see fit. And Bucky talks about this.
Where they're needed.
Where they're needed. If you like, for instance, if you're at a friend's house, or you're at a party, or you're with some group of people, and they see someone taking out garbage, well, you'd grab a hold of some of the garbage and help take it out. Or if someone needs a tool and they're fixing their car, you'd hand them a tool. You'd be always trying to help the people around you for at least an hour a day, and most people would do much, much more. But we're saying that all needs will be met, basic needs met, education, food, and shelter, for about an hour a day, measured in energy units, not in a currency. The currency could come about if you wanted to put it into a computer. So we know that no human being has to be put into slavery anywhere in the world, in Africa and Indonesia and France and Germany, anywhere you want it to be. But every human being's needs must be met. And Bridges programming tries to get the ideas of both Democrats and Republicans and conservatives and liberals and tree huggers and non-tree huggers, or whatever you call it, non-tree huggers.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we want to get people to come together. And the way we're doing that is with our programming. And we're welcoming anyone to come on the program to expound their beliefs and philosophies, as long as the way they think it's going to help benefit humanity. We're always looking for opposing opinions. But right now, we're going to be putting out the Pope's encyclical, which is a great piece of work. It is not a religious program, but it's a great piece of work that the Pope put out. It's saying that the economic system is not working. And Susan's going to read to you something from her notes from Critical Path.
Okay, you want to go to the first thing that I wrote down here? And if you want to see the book, it's pretty fat. About an inch.
350 pages, I guess.
Oh, I don't know. Let's see, I didn't even check that. Yeah, 395.
400-page book. And we're not asking, I know
And
most people, it's hard to read all this stuff. A lot of it's technical. So Susan's actually broken it down. She's reading it. She's marking it. The encyclical, by the way, is 99 pages. We have put that on book tape, and we're now putting the video to it, and so we can get it on YouTube. And we're going to have that out shortly. And we're going to be putting, Buckminster Fuller wrote another book, which is only 61 pages, and I recommend it. It's called The Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth. And I recommend that everybody reads that. It's a great piece of work. It explains the HREM, Human Renewable Energy Measure, is what our impetus is to make this happen. And that's why we did the programming. We need to have a measurement for all of humanity so their basic needs are met. We're not saying that.
The operating manual does not explain.
But the operating manual explains the concept of how things are happening and what we may do. So
yeah, Buckminster Fuller explains things very in a very interesting language. He has an interesting style of writing, and I'll read some of it, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. He did say that it would be possible to use energy as the basis for economic valuation. And he goes on to talk about, I think I have some quotes about that in here for this program, and we talked about it a little bit in the previous program. So I'm kind of calling this part 2, because we did introduce the book Critical Path and Buckminster Fuller's ideas in our last program, some of his ideas. But when you're talking about this point in history being special because of the communication we can do, the technology
the technology, we have phenomenal technology.
He comments on that, and he comments on that from a perspective of 1980. And this book was published about it 1981. He died a couple of years after that, and which is interesting that he could foresee what we're now experiencing. I'll just read this, and it gives you some idea. It could never have been done before. Only 10 years ago, the more with less technology reached the point where it could be done. Since then, the invisible technological capability revolution has made it ever easier to do. It is a matter of converting the high technology from weaponry to livingry. The essence of livingry is human life advantaging and environment controlling with the highest aeronautical and engineering facilities of the world redirected from weaponry to livingry production. All humanity would have the option of becoming enduringly successful. So this was the vision he had at the beginning of the 80s, and he actually was predicting that by the end of the 80s, we would have made huge leaps in this direction that he described.
We have still, the prevailing problems are still here. The economic system has no value for humanity whatsoever. And this is in 2015, the Pope is saying that.
And in the operating manual for Spaceship Earth, Buckminster Fuller brings out the history of how our economic system evolved. And he talks about the great pirates. And that's why we recommend that you read that, because it is a short read. You could read it in 1 or 2 evenings, or if you want, just, one day, or split it up. It's not a difficult read. It's meant to introduce you to all of his basic concepts. And he did it very, very well, entertainingly also. And he likes to create words like the word livingry.
Livingry, right.
And converting the high technology from weaponry to livingry. And it shows something of his sense of humor too, because it's sort of playful, I think. When you fool around with words that way, but you're really serious, but you're still able to insert some playfulness in there, so that people don't get too stressed out by the really seriousness of the topic.
Right.
And the topic is serious.
But matter of fact, it's so serious. I just want to bring this out again. I bring it out pretty much every show we do, or every program we do. I get up in the morning, and I think most people, when they get up in the morning, they go in the bathroom and brush their teeth, throw some water on their face, and they look in the mirror and they realize they're getting older. And I added one more thing to looking in the mirror. I said, as my lifestyle is, I'm going to kill two people today. People look at me and they're really surprised. How could you say that? And I said, well, you are too. If you live in this part of the world, just because of our economic system, we are going to kill 2 people today through our political policies, where we drop drones on other countries.
That's on average, I guess.
On the average, in some cases we won't, but in most cases we will. Where a piece of plate glass falls down and cuts some kid's arm off, or makes them bleed to death, or they're blocking the traffic in some part of the world that we're supporting, and the father can't get to the hospital in time to get for a heart attack or emergency for a birth or whatever. And we are killing people every day. And then, not only are we killing people every day, but once we do that, there are other people who are fanatics, and they're saying, well, you guys are infidels because you don't care how many people we're killing. But most Western people in this part of the world don't realize we're killing people. They think everything is going along fine and life is great and the economic system is fantastic. So let's just keep it going. Keep it status quo. But if you're one of the people whose kid got killed or a parent died because the circumstances,
not medical care is not accessible or affordable, right?
or you can't get enough clean water,
right?
Because
or food,
because our Western world,
or shelter,
or we paid somebody in Africa to start a war based on religion, and we wiped out 6 million people because we needed their cobalt, their uranium, and whatever they have in natural resources. We're doing some pretty bad things, and we should look in the mirror, and that's what the Pope is saying. We need to change the ways, but we can't change our way until we have to know where we are. And all humanity has to have their basic needs met for about an hour of their life work a day. And that's education, food, and shelter. And education, especially with today's technology, you can go online and learn almost anything you want to learn. And then if you go to take a test, you should be able to if you need a degree, get your degree.
And that's what Buckminster Fuller's talking about when he says it could never have been done before.
Right.
Only 10 years ago, the more with less technology reached the point where it could be done, what he means is that we can provide the dignified life for everyone, that technology is making this possible. And that, food, shelter, and education, is doable. It's not the expensive part of economics. It's the
basic.
The livingry, as he would call it, is not expensive. It's weaponry that is extremely expensive, right. And not only in cost of money, but in cost of lives. And
is this the one where he explains that the amount of energy we use just to push papers back and forth, it would be cheaper to let people
stay at home? I think I have that here.
We'll get to that. He
Right.
brings a point out that if the amount of energy we waste sitting in traffic with all that horsepower and just jumping up.
Yeah, I have that later on here.
Okay, we got to
but it's a little different.
It's just amazing.
There's a couple of places. That's another quote you're thinking of with the horsepower.
It's amazing.
We did talk about that in the last program. But there's another quote that's similar to it that I have here that I'll read.
Okay. But anyway, keep on going with that.
I just to take it sort of in the progress of the book itself, I won't leap ahead, and I'll take you to the next quote that stood out for me, at least. And everything. In fact, it's very hard to read very many pages very many sentences or paragraphs, because he fills each paragraph or each sentence with so much information and thought, and that you can't just say, oh well, I don't really have to write that one down. Maybe I can skip that one. You can't, and you feel like, okay, I got to write that one down because that's really, really good, and that's important to say that on the program. So anyway, here's the next one that caught my attention, so that I had to write it down. Those who make money with money deliberately keep it scarce. Money is not wealth. Wealth is the accomplished technological ability to protect, nurture, support, and accommodate all growthful needs of life. So there's a kind of a statement of his. Do you
notice what he said?
What is it?
Needs of life.
Right.
All needs.
His belief
must
system,
be
a
met.
statement
Right.
of his belief system. I guess that's what.
And that's what we're saying. For 1 hour of time, that's your life. All your needs must, not your wants now. Wants are totally different than needs. You'll have the basic needs met. Maybe a hut, or maybe living in a barracks, or maybe, you're not going to have a car or computer or basic needs met to sustain your life, not what you want. You may want a bigger house. You may want a computer. You may want.
That's what he's talking about. The hoarding of money. Those who make money with money deliberately keep it scarce, because that increases the value of what they're holding.
Right.
And and he's saying here that the money is not the real wealth, and we're being conned into thinking that it is, and that's why the economic system remains focused on profit making and money gathering and hoarding and scarcity.
How much money can you make? How much are you
competition?
worth?
When the real wealth is what's making that's providing for the needs of life, and not just human life, but in our economic systems we're talking about human life for the most part, because we create our economic systems in order to get essential goods, supposedly essential goods, to where they should be going to support communities, individuals, etc. And these goods can be education, they can be food, shelter, water. All these things are the important needs of life.
You've got to have a certain amount of energy units of food, and that's about 1 million a year. You can break that down per day, and about 1 million energy units of water. You can again break that down by how many glasses you really need.
And when you talk about breaking it down, Buckminster Fuller talks directly to that, because at the time, just when he was reaching into his early 80s, when he died, the computer was just becoming much more prevalent, and more people had desktop computers, but it wasn't the majority at that point, but it was starting to become something that was in the schools.
In your hand, the size of a whole building. So our technology has grown, but what has not grown.
He saw. Wait, let me read what he said about. We can calculate that. He saw that the computer would be a useful tool, and it's a tool just like money is a tool. I mean, and tools can be used to our benefit, like a hammer. You can use a hammer to build something, or you can use it to harm someone. So all tools have this dual possibility. But if you're going to use the computer, and he says this is how we could use it to the benefit of humanity and to life in general. But when we're talking about the economic system right now, that's we're trying to keep it focused on the failings of our economics as we practice it now. So I'll go on to say what he said here. Only the computer can cope with the astronomical complexity of integrating the unpredicted potentials of the millions of invisible technology gains in physical capabilities already accomplished. Only world considerate computer accounting will be able to produce the figures that will persuade all humanity to direct high science technology from weaponry to livingry. Computer capability will clearly manifest that we indeed now have 4 billion, and at that time there were 4 billion, but now there's about, what, 6 or 7, almost 7 billion.
Now that's
real wealth billionaires. He called us all billionaires because of our minds and the technology that we have access to, and the real wealth, meaning the needs of life, are providable
for everybody,
for everyone, and we are, in that sense, billionaires, because that's the real wealth. The ability to feel the security of food, shelter, and education, and to keep improving what you understand, and to be able to spend time with the people that you are learning the most from, or whatever, or your family, or with educators, or
or just
with
go fishing,
or with nature,
whatever you want to do, or
exactly.
Just walk in the woods, or just observe the way a bird, learn about how chickens lay an egg, or become philosophical, or just think. Spend the time to think, not try to be led, not try to listen to the news and believe everything. Ask the question of, Why does a person want to be a politician? How are they going to help humanity? What's the purpose of why are we working? Who declared that the United States is the United States? Who made that declaration? What is rule of law better than nature's law? I mean, are we all going, if I declared by rule of law, we're all going to live to 200 years of age? Would we all live, if I declared by law, you only have to have 10 calories of food a day? Would that be legal? But
would that be reasonable?
Reasonable. You'll die if you don't. So the rule of law is not nature's law, and we have to be able to use the economic system to make sure nature's law becomes our rule of law. And I don't know how to say that.
Well, I was thinking
our rule of law is that you have to do this rule of law, even though it's not. It has no basis for humanity.
I think, and he goes into this in operating manuals for Spaceship Earth. He talks about, Buckminster Fuller talks about the influences that were at the beginning of our economics. The notion that scarcity and it's you or me, and we have to compete, and these things were part of the thinking processes of the time. Darwin's theories were being sort of, the way that we do now. We take just a certain amount of what someone says and then make all kinds of and sort of skew that toward what agenda is being promoted. And I think that was done with a lot of what Darwin was trying to relate in his writing. But out of that comes this notion of survival of the fittest, and whether or not that's what he meant doesn't really matter anymore, because that's what stuck. And economics grabbed on that, like, whoa, this is the brass ring, definitely, we need this. Because by doing that, you're pitting people against each other, and you're right away it creates scarcity in that, we can't all be on this planet together. We have to battle with each other to see who's going to come out on top. And I'd like to see that restated to survival of the living, because there is no fittest to live. There's only living things, and we are born and then we're living. There's no quantification of whether or not we're fitter or less fit or anything.
Decide that?
And nobody decides that.
Right.
What we're trying to do is to restate what the goal of economics should be. It should be survival of the living, and what's living now, and nourishing it and nurturing it, and I'm talking in general of all living things. But if we want to focus on the economics, we're focusing on humans.
Right, human economics.
The human energy.
Human renewable energy.
So we're talking about the survival of living people at this moment in history. And it's not here. I'll read a little bit here about.
Before you do, we're gonna take a little break.
All right.
This is by Alien Folklife and Joan Mercer and Paul Crosby. Paul Mercer, I got that backwards. Said we can use their music on this. They also wrote our energy song 30 years ago for us, or close to that. And I bring this up as a really cute song because it shows how we think in this country, like New Age, and it's a 5-minute song, but it's a cute song because what they do is they're talking about they went to go to their favorite New Age bookstore and turned into hot dog heaven, and their take on that was really amazing. So I'm going to play that for you, and then we'll be back in about 5 minutes. We're taking a little break. We try to do this. We play this song quite often, and we pretty much the same we play this, we talk about the same stuff. The Human Renewable Energy Measure. This is brought to you by Bridges Programming, and we also have a program that we sponsor called Renew the Earth, which is a nonprofit. So please don't hesitate to listen to our programming, and you can get it on Google Hangouts, and you can go right to see all of our programming. And we're just learning how to do this now. Hangouts on air, or you can go to YouTube, and then on YouTube you could play Bridges Programming, and they'll all pop up, including the one you're seeing now. This is live performance now, or live programming now, and then we'll be sort of archived within a couple hours. So here we go. This is on Double Vision from Alien Folklife.
I'm an ordinary new age guy with 3 kids and a wife, looking for the answers to the mysteries of life. I've regressed through 13 lifetimes to try and make amends, and on Wednesdays I go drumming with my new age friends. I know that life's a journey and everything must change, but something happened yesterday that left me feeling strange. I was going to buy some crystals at my favorite store downtown when I turned the corner and looked up. This is what I found. My new age crystal bookstore is hot dog heaven now. Where once I searched for inner peace, there's innards from a cow. They'll still make you one with everything, but it's not the same somehow. It's dogs instead of dogma, at hot dog heaven now. My inner child was angry. To be frank, he was incensed. But my inner parent told him there are no accidents. Some cosmic force has caused the plans I made to be reversed and brought me to this hot dog stand, perhaps not for the worst. Before I gave up eating meat, I'd buy 'em by the dozen. But what if in a former life this hot dog was my cousin? Joseph Campbell said, where your list leads you ought to follow. But this double-foot-long chili dog is awful hard to swallow. My new age crystal bookstore is hot dog heaven now. Where once I searched for inner peace, there's innards from a cow. They'll still make you one with everything, but it's not the same somehow. It's munching and not eating at hot dog heaven now.
This whole thing got me thinking, and I know it's kind of hard, but if there's a hot dog heaven,
could there be a hot dog God? Are the streets all paved with mustard in that holy hot dog land? Does Oscar Mayer guard the gate with a wiener in each hand? And if there's a hot dog heaven, is there a tofu hell where carnivores run screaming when they hear the dinner bell? Some questions we can't answer, and perhaps we shouldn't try. But as that neon Frank lights up the night, I sit and wonder why. My new age crystal bookstore is hot dog heaven now. Where once I searched for inner peace, there's innards from a cow. They'll still make you one with everything, but it's not the same somehow. It's kraut instead of crystals at hot dog heaven now. Pepsi, not recovery.
onion rings, not earrings.
Trash cans and not ashrams at hot dog heaven now.
Well, thank you, Paul and Joan, for letting us use this on our programming. Appreciated. We are let me see how to work this machine here. We're back now. Susan is going to,
Well, I wanted to go back to what we were talking about before the break, that we want to transition from survival of the fittest to survival of the living. And that's where the real wealth is.
really, right.
And Buckminster Fuller describes in Critical Path how the powers that be, will react to this. And it's kind of interesting I'll read this to you. Bureaucracies will panic because all the great political, religious, and most of all, big business systems would find their activities devastated by the universal physical success of all humanity. All the strengths of all great politics and religion and most businesses are derived from the promises they give of assuaging humanity's seemingly tragic dilemma of existing in an unalterable state of fundamental inadequacy of life support. So, here he's asserting the survival of the fittest, the not enough for everyone, it's you or me.
Right. But that's not, but that's
it's
what
not
they're
enough
doing,
to go around.
It's not true.
Right. Fundamental inadequacy of life support. And that's what they are able to control millions and millions of billions of people with that notion.
They're controlling about 7 billion people. A small percentage of them are the one who's being or are doing the controlling. And Buckminster Fuller calls them the great pirates.
And all you have to do.
Some people call them the 1%ers.
And he's
some
saying
people call them the elites.
Only thing that has to change is, to devastate these systems is for all of humanity to be successful, to be surviving with food, shelter, and education. Right. For all of humanity to be
have their
basic needs met, and all of these oppressive religious, political, and business systems would fall like a house of cards.
Right. But we're saying, you can't get there.
And we had a interesting guest the other night. Glenn was saying that the emperor is clothed in money, and you can go to the next thought. It's fiat. And it doesn't exist. It's not real.
It's not real value.
It is not real wealth. It's not real. So there are no clothes.
But we believe in it.
On
and
the
if you
emperor.
Believe in it, and if they believe in that, then it's real. But the reality is, it's not real. And if you didn't have money, and Bucky also explains this. He said, if you're in a spaceship. I'm sorry, we're in a spaceship.
Yeah.
He said, but look at it this way: money can't change yesterday's history.
He calls the Earth a spaceship.
We're all on it together. A spaceship. We're all together, and the sun is our energy source, and it gives us our food, and it gives us our water, and it gives us our shelter. The sun is our supply ship, and the moon keeps us on target. It keeps us it gives us our gravitational pull. Now, once we've decided that that's a good idea, so if you want to go to outer space, don't worry about it. You're there now.
You're already there.
But I just want you to imagine that with money, you can change history only by lying. In other words, you really can change history even if you have a lot of money. You can change the history books. And then, therefore, it looks like you changed history.
Right.
But you can't really change the fact that your parent died yesterday. You can change the date if you choose. And you can even say they're still alive.
You can't change the fact of it.
You can't change the fact of life. If you're and Bucky brings out that if you were in a ship and the ship was sinking, and you had all the money you could possibly have, And there was one fellow there who found a piano top or a piece of wood, and he's floating and you're sinking. And you would say, how much can I give you all my money for that piano top? He would not do it because real life is much more valuable than that.
And circumstances like that makes it much clearer because we lose track of that. But, you don't need to have a circumstance that you described in order to understand this. But to make
I can show you
an analogy.
I can show you a joke, though, that's interesting. The joke is simple. It's an old joke. It says a robber came up to an older guy, and he put his gun in his back, and he said, "Your money or your life?" And he said, Take my life because I'm saving my money for my old age." So this is an interesting.
Yeah.
That's a scary thought. But anyway, it's just a point of
because
information.
in that way, that's what we're all doing. When all we think about, all we're thinking about is earning money, to know more purpose. We already have our needs met, and then you still want more, and you think you want more things, and you're piling these things up, or you're piling the money up somewhere. This is not. You're using all your time, which is wealth, and your life, which is your wealth, to acquire money. So the money is taking your life. It's taking your time, and you're selling your life for money.
And somehow or other, if you drive a fancy car, I forgot the name of the car. What was the word Gary used the other day? My statement car. To get a trophy girlfriend. I mean, really, what are you talking about, man? I mean, that's ridiculous. You need a piece of transportation that works well. That's efficient. It's a tool, and it shouldn't be I don't think it should be, unless you want it to be, a statement. I mean, you need a car that goes from point A to point B very efficiently. That way you don't have to work anymore for more fuel. A trophy person is, well, I think anyone who you enjoy their company is a trophy person. So, I mean, you don't need to have a blow-up doll to make a trophy person, or someone who looks like a blow-up doll. But if that's what you choose, you got that option. If you choose to spend your whole life playing the stock market and making money, and you think you can take it with you when you go to it, baby. You got that right. As a human being, I personally think, and I think most people who understand what we're talking about with the HREM, the human renewable energy measure. Now, this sounds like an infomercial, but it is. We're trying to entice you to look up the HREM, the human renewable energy measure. It's really, really important for us to get this measurement into the vocabulary, just like gravity. Once it's into the vocabulary, then we can measure it just like we did with gravity, because gravity's been around forever. It was obvious. Well, and then we finally named it just 400 years ago by Newton. And then when we named it, we're able to measure it. Well, the same obvious things that every human being requires: education, food, and shelter for about an hour of work.
It's as obvious as gravity, is what you're saying.
It's as obvious as gravity. And the reason why I say for an hour of work, because every human being today alive is getting their basic needs met, but they're working 20 hours a day in some cases for it. And that's the problem. It's still slavery.
And I'm moving Buckminster Fuller back into the conversation. He talks to this, why people are confused about what's happening. And he says here, it's hard, it's very hard to kind of piece out, what the problems are and where the defects in the economic system are, and to get your mind around it. But he says here, two prime obstacles to all humanity's realization of its option to make it. One is the fact that humanity does not understand the language of science. Therefore, it does not know that all that science has ever found out is that the physical universe consists entirely of the most exquisitely inter-reciprocating technology. 99% of humanity thinks technology is a, quote, new phenomenon. The world populace identifies technology with 1, weapons, and 2, machines that compete with them for their jobs. Most people therefore think they are against technology, not knowing that the technology that they don't understand is their only means of exercising their option to make it on this planet and in this life. The other prime obstacle to realization of the great option is the fact that the world's power structures have always divided to conquer and have always kept divided to keep conquered. As a consequence, the power structure has so divided humanity not only into special function categories, but into religious and language and color categories.
I want to interrupt. It's amazing how all of a sudden we're fighting against ISIS. We have an election coming up between the Democrats, Republicans, and theoretically some small fringe groups like the Green Party or the Working Families Party or the whatever parties you want to put in there. But they keep on dividing us up. Even the religions themselves are divided up between conservative and orthodox.
That's what we've learned. That's what we've learned to do this. Right.
Up. Black
we've
and
learned
white,
it from our governments. We've learned it from each other.
The prejudices are just horrendous. The belief systems we have are just horrendous. Our belief systems that we've been schooled for 5,000 years to make sure the economic system is alive and well. And in case you're interested, the economic system is nothing more than a belief system. Just like any belief, it has no scientific value. How much is $1 worth? How much are you worth? You can't give me that number. You can't give me that. Most people say we're priceless. But the reality is if you're priceless, then you can work for me for nothing. But the reality is that you need to live and pay your bills. We're saying to you that every human being is basically the same for the first hour of their intellect and labor. They should have their basic needs met. The more education you have, the better our society will be. We then can, once we're educated, we can just make an educated decision about population growth, an educated decision about climate change, an educated decision about how much is $1 worth. These are the things that are so important. I don't know any better way to explain this. And this is what Bucky's saying. And this is what our Pope, or not our Pope, but the Pope is saying. And you're going to be, and we're going to be, I'm switching off between the Pope and Bucky, because Bucky said this 50, 60, 70 years ago. And another guy called Jacques Frisco from the Venus Project is saying pretty much the same thing, but he doesn't have the measurement. And Bucky has, at least he's come up with kilowatt hours.
I can read what he said about an energy network grid.
Go ahead.
Because you want to come into that. How our energy plan is talking about human energy, the human renewable energy that we use during our working lives, functioning in the economic system. And we're just talking about the economics. This is not a subjective thing about, as you were saying, that people often say that they're priceless. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about how humans are required to function in socioeconomic structures that, which is part of that is of course economics. And economics is supposed to be economical. That's what the word means. Things are done in an economical manner. It's a system. It's not a belief. it's supposed to be a system that functions in an economical way.
And it does
It
not
shouldn't.
today.
It's not.
It
That's
is
not
not.
what it is right
The
now.
computer you're watching us on today, or the television, it'll be obsolete in a short period of time, and then the next one will come about, and you probably should can this one and then get another one. My point is that we need to be able to recycle things in such a way that it doesn't cost us a life to work for it. You should be, of course, you'll want to work. Everybody wants to work. They can't sit and do nothing.
Well, we're built to work,
We're
right?
built to work.
Work and think and create stuff and
that's
interact.
why. But we're not built. We're not meant to compete. The society,
Not to destroy each other.
The human system grew to the size it grew today because of not competition, but cooperation. And it's interesting to look at in spite of the competition in the last few hundred years.
Right.
But the interesting part, or a few thousand years, the interesting part about this is that every company in the world takes their best minds and they sit down and they cooperate on how we grow the company. Then they compete with other companies so they can gain the best market share.
The advantage.
The advantage, so they can make more money. But if you say to all these great minds, how do we make it better for humanity?
For every living creature on
every
Earth.
Living creature.
And by extension, right. Once you have stabilized humanity and they're not struggling against each other to just survive, you then are making the opportunity for humanity to care for the rest of the living creatures on Earth and the plants and the natural resources that we have are finite, and we need to be very much aware of that. And Buckminster Fuller talks about that a lot too. This and in the conclusion of the way that we're being divided into categories, religious, language, color categories. And he says in conclusion, Buckminster Fuller says, individual humans are now helplessly inarticulate in the face of this present crisis. Because we've been so divided, we don't even know what to think about.
How do we get there?
Each other, who to trust, who to believe. We tend to get a circle the wagon train mentality.
Yeah, you bring the wagon train in. Bring all your, watch out. Make sure you get your armies. As an interesting story that happened to us about a year ago. We had a guest for the weekend, or for the week, I guess, and he was remarking that we're pretty much self-contained here. We have solar, we have that gives us our water, we have enough space for gardens and game and cold storage. We're pretty much self-contained. He said, well, when the system collapses, you're going to need bullets and guns to protect yourself against those people who don't have that. And I said, no, I don't want bullets and guns. I want to make sure anybody who doesn't have the basic needs met, make sure that we can school them and help them to make sure they have their basic needs met for a minimal amount of their life, time to work. If we can do that, then we don't need armies and guns and policemen and cops and wars.
But I think he was suggesting that in an emergency, these kind of things can happen.
Right. We're saying before the emergency happens.
Right. You need to think before something like that.
And that's where we are now. We want to make sure
occurs.
Every human being doing anything to help humanity gets their basic needs met.
Well, here's the proposal that Buckminster Fuller wrote about in Critical Path that involves his ideas about energy. And I'll read what he says, and then you can, you can see how it's.
You do that in 4 minutes?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
And then we'll talk at length about that, because energy is definitely the key, and renewable energy is
renewable energy is free from the sun. It is no cost to us. It comes
and it's
from
finite.
nature.
It can't be destroyed.
It comes from nature, or if you want to call God, that We need to be able to use renewable energy just like we breathe. That's part of renewable energy. The air, the water, the sun. That is free. It's part of our life. It's truly human stuff. It has nothing to do. No one should be able to charge you for your oxygen. No one should be able to charge you for years of nature.
Your energy is your wealth.
Your energy, your mind is your wealth. Your
Yeah.
energy, your labor is your wealth. And no one should be able to take that from you. And you should be in control of that as far as the free market. You are a free person, individual.
You are your own free market.
And
Because you should be able to then declare what you will accept as payment for what you do.
right, by the way, let's come back to this after the break.
So you want to take a break?
Yeah, because
Okay.
the reason for that is we need to come together as individuals. We'll still need to come. In other words, we got to be individuals, and then there's a portion of collectivism which people call that's a bad thing, but it's really you can be an individual and still be working together, and it's not collectivism. It's working together to help all of humanity, and it's not kill 4 people to make it better for the all. No, each individual has great wealth and rights, and no human being should ever have to die for the benefit of other people. And so to get this to happen, we need to come together.
I mean, it shouldn't be designed into our economic system.
It shouldn't be designed in, and to do this to happen.
These tragedies will still occur, but right now we're designing these kind of things into our economic system.
So what I'm going to play now is something it's from In Good Company, called From the Foothills Trio. And this is called We the People. And it's about halfway through our program, and listen to We the People, and if that maybe inspire you. It's not just the United States, it's the world have to come together. And we need to get this measurement into the world vocabulary, the human renewable energy measure. So here we go. And Kingston, the Foothills Trio.
We the people, hand in hand. We the people understand that there's an answer, there's a way. We the people have to say. So send the orders to prepare, that we the people do declare. Send the good news, send the word. We the people will be heard. We the people everywhere. There's a message in the air, and it's moving across the land. And if you listen, you can hear it well, my friend. We know the time has come to take our heads out of the sand, 'cause if we don't, the chance might never come again. The future is in reason, not building ways of war. And the time has come for reason to be heard. The purpose of the people's what this declaration's for. It's why our fathers told us, word for word, let it be heard. We the people, hand in hand. We the people understand that there's an answer, there's a way. We the people have to say. So send the orders to prepare, that we the people do declare. Send the good news, send the word. We the people will be heard. We the people everywhere. and we won't accept excuses, and we won't accept the lies of those who lead our nations into hell. It's time to call the bluff and say to them, enough's enough. It's time we all should hear the tolling of the bell. And it's time to feed the hungry, and it's time to heal the pain, and it's time to beat our weapons into plows. It's time to hear the voices that have risen once again. It's the voices of the people, clear and loud, singing proud. We the people, hand in hand. We the people understand that there is an answer, there's a way. We the people have to say, so send the orders to prepare, that we the people do declare. Send the good news, send the word, we the people will be heard. We the people everywhere. We the people, hand in hand. We the people understand that there's an answer, there's a way. We the people have to say, so send the orders to prepare, that we the people do declare. Send the good news, send the word, we the people will be heard. We the people, we the people, we the people everywhere.
And we are back. That's sort of our break in the middle of the program. That's We the People by the Foothills Trio. We have permission to play that. Over the years, we've played that many, many times on a lot of different programs. The Energy Song, the Energy Show. All the programs we do at RPI. We did a lot of programs with RPI.
Rensselaer Polytechnic, WRPI.
WRPI.
It was the radio station for Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York.
But I mean, there are some really good stuff going on, and I just want to see if I can get lined up for our next program.
Okay.
Go ahead.
There's something really neat that Buckminster Fuller imagined. He just had a different perspective on things, let's put it that way. And one of the things he had a very different perspective on was the way that we can look at the earth and its continents and its water, bodies of water. And he didn't see it as our traditional globe, and you see, the North America, South America, you see the shape of Africa, the way that the traditional globe, or even flattening it out so that you see all the continents kind of, here's the Arctic, here's the Antarctic, and everything lines up kind of linear across the map. The things that we are used to looking at was not the way that he was able to revisualize our continents, and he did what he called a Dymaxion sky-ocean world map. And I know this is going to be too small.
Well, I can bring it closer.
For you
Let
to.
me just see if I can bring it close enough.
And I'll give you some idea. Of course, this is in the book, Critical Path.
For the thing here, I'm going to bring this out so you can see it. That's the way Buckminster Fuller.
I'll try to explain what it took me a while. I mean, maybe because I'm just dense, to figure out what he was doing with that. But what he had done, I mean, just imagine if you had a globe, and you maybe it was one of these blow up ones that you could then cut and flatten. And that's what he did. He's looking at all the continents, and they all do, those are in proportion to each other. They all do touch each other, and like one huge continent, we are not,
We're together.
yeah, we're all a unit of land masses, and we all, and when you flatten the globe that way, it's a whole different way of looking at the land areas that we live on, with all the rest of the living things, and where we hope to have survival of the living. We, and of course, the bodies of water are hugely populated with marine life, and that is the biggest area of all. But he was just showing how the land masses
come together,
are all touching each other, all like one huge, what would I say, continent of itself. I mean, you could make the case that we are not separated at all.
There's no division. It's only our rule of law.
Right, our nations, our nation states.
In other words, when people say, the pollution has no boundaries. I mean, if I pollute Canada or I pollute the United States, the boundaries go over to the other, or Mexico or any other part of the world that we've divided. No, we are damaging our entire planet, killing all people by what we do, and we can't and we shouldn't be dividing the world up. We should be coming together. And and when I hear about the one world order, if the one world order is going to be the same old, which doesn't include all people,
just more of it,
I'm against it. But if the one world order says all humanity must have their basic needs met, and that's what the Pope is saying, then I think I'm for that idea. I'd much rather see a good new world order that benefits all of humanity, no matter where you are in the world, working 1 hour a day, getting your basic needs met, education, food, and shelter, and then allowing you to be an independent human being to work and do whatever you choose to do. I don't think that's a bad thing. But anyway,
but this ability of Buckminster Fuller to visualize all the land masses as essentially one land mass, he was then able to conceptualize how a world energy network grid could be created, and all of the peoples of the world would have access to energy off this grid. And so this was the reason the way that he was able to visualize what I'll describe now, that he describes in words. I'll quote from what he says about his world energy network grid plan. And he says, this world electric grid, with its omni-integrated advantage, will deliver its electrical energy anywhere to anyone at any one time at one common rate. This will make possible a world-around uniform costing and pricing system for all goods and services based realistically on the time, energy, metabolic accounting system of universe.
Now, he uses the word metabolic as a measurable thing. And that's what we're talking about with the HREM.
Well, because we have a metabolism, and that's directed by our energy system, our human renewable energy system. Now, he doesn't take it to the point where we've taken it. He felt, I guess, that a grid could be an honest grid, and that it wouldn't be possible for politics or economics to take over that kind of a grid. Well, what do we have now essentially is an energy grid that is being manipulated by companies and for profit, etc. So to get away from that, we feel that you need to make the renewable energy that we're talking about start with what each person has in each of their lifetimes, their living human renewable energy, and what they contribute of that to their economics in order to have their basic needs met, which should be a minimal amount of time, but not. And he says here, he really does relate this to money. He says, world ultra high voltage, 1,500 mile intergenerator connection, and this is how he describes it: establishing electric currency for whole world.
Electric currency.
Right. 1 cent equals 1 kilowatt hour is how he visualized it.
Well, you see, I'm looking at it just the opposite. 1 kilowatt hour will equal something in a currency, because every currency is different. So you that's where you need your computer for, to figure out for that area what 1 kilowatt hour would be worth for that currency.
Yeah, but
Unless
how
you
are you
have
going
a
to
world-
relate
unless
that
you-
to human energy?
All human beings have to have their basic needs met. So they have to have their education, food, and shelter, 1 million calories of food a year,
Right, but
1 million calories of water, and how you relate that is simple. All society will have those met at any cost to that society. Doesn't matter what the cost is, because we can always find it. And that's how we rate a country, on how well they make sure every constituent in that country has their basic needs met, their education, food, and shelter, for about an hour a day. The other person who's saying the same thing without money is Jacques Frisco. He's saying there's a way of doing that through an energy system that works very well, using types of renewable energy. So, and take the money out of the system. And another way to look at this, if you go to Money as Debt, or you go to Zeitgeist Moving Forward, these are all websites. Please look at them to try to educate yourself. Now, most people are going to look at us, take one look at the program, listen to it for 5 minutes, and shut it down. That's what's going to happen here. We don't expect to get, 1 million views, but we do want you to understand that the few people who wander into this and understand we're trying to say something that really matters, that really is going to change your life, your children's life, that you need to educate yourself, and you need to understand what we're talking about. And that's why we bring up all these different websites. We've seen hundreds of different websites, but most of them don't give you the information that we're suggesting. And as far as I know, none of them are talking about a human renewable energy measure that gives all basic needs met.
Well, I want to see how what we're thinking about maybe meshing with what Buckminster Fuller is saying here, because let me read this one. I mean, because he's saying 1 cent equals 1 kilowatt hour. I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth. The guy can't defend himself anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
So here's what he says. In this cosmically uniform common energy value system for all humanity, costing will be expressed in kilowatt hours, watt hours, and watt seconds of work.
Okay, what we're saying and how it matches to what we're saying is that every human being in the world has to have food, which is 1 million calories of food a year. Then they need water, which is 1 million calories of water a year. Now, I don't know how to do that, but a physicist can. And they can revert that to watts. Let me finish. You asked the question, I need to finish this. So we can relate the calories to the kilowatts or the watt. And then we can relate the shelter to as many energy units that require for basic needs met, depending upon where you are in the world. But all those needs must be met. And then you need the education, which is wide open. And then you need to do it within a certain amount of your lifetime. So he's saying the same thing.
In other words, he's setting up a system. He's setting up a system that could be a structure to hang the HREM on.
Well, actually, the HRM is his structure. And
Well,
he's saying the exact same thing.
No, he's not.
He is. He's saying that we measure it in kilowatt hours, and he's put a monetary number to that. 1 penny equals 1 kilowatt hour.
Right.
Well, that's the penny is arbitrary because that'll change. But the human being never has to work more than 5 hours a week to get their basic needs met. We've taken the money out of it.
Mm-hmm. That's what I mean. That's
We've taken
different.
the money out of it, and we say you base everything on the kilowatt hour.
Right. But he's still trying to make a currency out of this.
But that's where you need the computer for, and that's what he's talking about later on in his book. He says
it's very, very close to what we're thinking
very
about.
Close to what we're talking about. Yes.
He says here the World Energy Network grid. And if you wanted to express that in terms of people, it would be the human energy network grid.
Right, exactly.
Will be responsible for the swift disappearance of planet Earth's 150 different nationalities. We now have 150 supreme admirals, all trying to command the same ship to go in different, you can say where that's going, directions, with the result that the ship is going around in circles going nowhere.
Well, actually, the ship is going around in circles if you look at it, Spaceship Earth.
Well, that's true.
And we're not going anywhere, but he's looking at the humanitarian.
The waste of energy, the inefficiency
of it. The humanitarian
right?
people are not yet, as a species, we're destroying ourselves. As a species, we're not going anywhere because of the economic system. That's what he is saying. And I'm not putting words in his mouth, I'm sure.
No, I mean, that's why I'm trying to make sure that these are quotes from his book, and I'm trying to make sure that he has his say in the words that he chose to use in Critical Path. We're trying to be fair. There are slight differences in what we're talking about and what, of course, we're going to keep asserting what we're talking about.
And the Pope is saying the same thing without a measure. You see, everyone is saying.
Well, he was trying to measure things. He was trying to measure things in energy.
In energy units.
Right. And then we agree entirely that is a very good place to go if you want to have a starting measure for economics. But not in the way that we perceive, going to the pump and buying fossil fuel, and that's not what we're talking about.
We're not talking about that at all.
Right.
It's not, and you have to be able to open your mind up, and and to try to understand this. This is not the same way.
We're talking about survival.
Survival and
survival needs.
Minimum needs met for all humanity for 1 hour of work. That, and base that on energy units. It's very hard to get your head around it, because one of the things people will say is, how do you pay for it? Well, Bucky addresses that, and so do we. Everybody's working. There are enough natural resources on the planet. There's enough technology on the planet that everybody basically.
The notion of scarcity is the big lie of the economic system that we're operating under now. No such thing as
scarcity. It's contrived scarcity. However, as long as we have the natural. Look, we have natural. If we overfish the oceans, we're going to be running out of fish. Now, if we do this in a sensible manner, we won't run out of fish. We will. The only reason we're running out of fish is there's money to be made.
Right, in quantity and in
if we work
getting
together,
them to certain markets, and then
fish a little bit out. Let people work a couple hours a day to get their basic needs met. They don't have to keep on fishing like what was that, Jaws? What was that thing? Oh, the perfect storm.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to go out. He had to make a living, so he went out in a place that they wound up dying to get fish.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first
they had
thing
to go out.
Not to go out in the storm, and the second thing was, what the hell did you go out for to make money? So you died trying to make money. If you're trying to support your family,
revenge of the ocean.
If you try to support your family and you spray paint cars and you have to work 12, 15 hours a day and you're breathing in fumes, you're going to die. You're going to eventually, those fumes are going to get you, no matter how careful you are. No one should have to work that hard in a job like that for basic needs met. Not that long, maybe an hour or two a day would be most you need to do. and you're performing a function. People who are a butcher, they shouldn't have. There's unbelievable amount of problems we're running into. Anyway, I just want to
Okay,
bring that out.
let me get another word in from Buckminster Fuller while you take a pause there. And he addresses how we're going to the practical aspects of meeting the basic needs. And he says here, in treating the many immediate, most important survival problems, each question will be programmed into the computer asking which way society will experience the lowest cost, optimal living. By giving all humans handsome fellowships with an income adequate for high standard of living, or by having them go on earning their livings, the computer will show that 70% of all jobs in America are preoccupied with work that is not producing any wealth or life support. So you see what he's trying to say.
Yeah,
there.
like filling out your income tax return,
or all
and
the
having
paper,
somebody else, or getting an attorney to
right,
do rule of law that has no value whatsoever, because somebody needs to live in a house and they need a landlord, and this is insanity. What's going, and then you have to evict someone if they don't pay the rent. I mean, all these things go on and on and on.
He's saying that most jobs are just busy work, and that's what's happened with our economics as we do it.
Everybody should have a place that they build or they work on, and they enjoy their life around them. They shouldn't have to pay anyone for it. I mean, this is, you work and you work together, and you put this thing together within cooperation, not within competition.
So this lack of efficiency, and I said that in the summary for this program, this lack of efficiency in our economics, and that's what economics is for, is to be efficient and to provide the needs.
Right.
It's supposed to be.
That's what they told you.
But it's killing us.
Zeitgeist.
The kind of economics we practice now is killing us with busy work. It's literally killing us.
Killing people.
And taking your wealth, which is your time and your life, in this pursuit, of jobs that are producing, as Buckminster Fuller says, not producing any wealth or life support. And that's what we're looking for: survival of the living.
The living, not the fittest. The
living, and the living is where our wealth is. I mean, that's where wealth is. It's in life, and there's no comparing one life to another.
People can't get their head around this. It's so hard.
Well, this is why it's important to keep bringing it out.
It's so important for people to understand that the important thing is helping all humanity so they have their basic needs met. So there's nobody begging for food. And it won't be basic needs. It's going to be much more than basic.
Well, because people want to keep
and they
working,
want more, so they're going to work harder. They're going to work hard, but they can make their own choice on how much.
There's so much more a variety of what should be considered work, a valuable work, than what we're doing. Here's the quote that you were waiting for. That Buckminster Fuller expresses. The absurdity of what we're doing right now. Economic findings regarding the amount of energy employed as heat and pressure for the length of time initially that it took nature to photosynthetically process sun radiation into the myriad of hydrocarbon molecules that comprise all the vegetation and algae, which later are consumed and growthfully by a myriad of other biological species, a large percent of which sun energy nurtured and multiplied molecules are ultimately processed into petroleum. With all that cosmic energy processing, it costs nature well over $1 million to produce each gallon of petroleum.
Well, he broke it down to currency, but
let me. This is commenting again on the kind of work, the busy work. We find that all the no life support wealth producing people going to their 1980, and of course that's when he was living. That's the time, of course, and that still holds true for 2015. Going to their 1980, 2015 jobs in their cars or buses, spending trillions of dollars worth of petroleum daily to get to their no wealth producing jobs. It doesn't take a computer to tell you that it will save both universe and humanity trillions of dollars a day to pay them handsomely to stay at home.
Don't go to work. We're better off if we just do what you got to do close by and help people around your neighborhood. We'll be farther ahead, and we won't be poisoning the planet or killing anybody anymore. As I said, when you wake up in the morning at the beginning of the program, because of our no wealth created lifestyle
and jobs,
we are killing people all over the world.
Right, and histories, and here he goes on to say, and this is, I'd like to read these two paragraphs together. History's political and economic power structures have always fearfully abhorred, quote, idle people as potential troublemakers. Yet nature never abhors seemingly idle trees, grass, snails, coral reefs, and clouds in the sky.
That's right.
The at-home staying humans will start thinking, what was it I was thinking about when they told me I had to earn my living? Doing what someone else had decided needed to be done. What do I see that needs to be done that no one else is attending to?
Like
what do I need
garbage.
to learn to be effective in attending to it and in a highly efficient and inoffensive to others manner? You know, I mean, it's a whole different way of talking about, you know, how we can use time, our limited time of our life.
Look, I'll give you, for instance, we have the ability to either go sailing or horseback riding or travel, but our choice is that there's something missing within our economic system. And we think, as a group of us, maybe 5 or 10 of us, said there's something wrong with the system. And we think it was missing a basic measurement for humanity. So we said, let's spend the rest of our time, or as much as we can afford, and still, supplying enough money to come in to pay taxes and income and whatever, to produce a program that gets this message out. Now, this may not be we're not saying we have the answer, this is the gospel. We know we've heard the Pope speak recently, and he said there's something wrong with our system. We've heard Socrates. You've looked back at history. You've heard, of course, Buckminster Fuller. There's all kinds of social justice things, and they're all trying to work within the economic system, and it's not working. And we feel the reason why it's not working, the economic system is not based.
It's basically inhumane.
It's not based on humanity. It's based on something that has no value for humanity or the planet at all. Now, this spaceship or planet will be here, but if we drop nuclear bomb or we destroy each other because of money, or we destroy the atmosphere or the biosphere, the air,
the balance
water,
of nature.
If we destroy this, the spaceship will still fly, but we will destroy our life support system. And if we do that, all of humanity will be extinct. Now, maybe 1,000,000 years from now, somebody will resurrect this video and say, Mike, I was right. They shouldn't have gone extinct. If they would have just gone to that simple measurement, they might have not been extinct. What we're asking you to do on this program is to...
It's not the answer to everything,
It's not
Jeff.
the answer.
It's just a way to get out of the cul-de-sac that we're now in so that we can move humanity and all living creatures and forward into a much more profoundly creative period of development and evolution.
Yeah.
And right now we're stuck, and we need to get out of this this trap, this these
A
mindsets
mindset that is saying we need competition, we need to kill those people, we need to make more and more money. We've got to hoard so many things.
And the fittest are the ones with the most money.
That is wrong.
These are
It's
things
simply,
that are pounded into us, you know, from the moment that you can understand what people are talking about.
it's simply wrong.
And it's very difficult to think in another way.
Each of us has to do it our own way. So if you understand what we're saying, figure out your own way to get this message out. And this person who's saying
we need
now,
to start to unravel the way that this stranglehold of this this economics has developed, and it continues to develop. And always, it's very, very recognizable. It's divide people against each other. It's scarcity. It's, you know, cornering of markets. It's control. You know, it's money emphasis. It's profit gathering emphasis. These are not wealth or life functions.
Right.
These are not living functions, as Buckminster Fuller would put it. These are weaponry functions.
And by the way, you'll hear the next song. Kim Wallach sings this. It's from Paddle on the Railway album, and this is we all eat French fries, and she's saying the same thing. She just eats French fries. She don't believe the armies and the guns are going to ever save us, but she knows we have to make peace with nature as well as people. And it's a 2-minute song. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. Please stay tuned in and tell your friends about this programming and try to get this message out. And if you want to do more programming with us, you're more than welcome. Please contact Bridges Programming or our head honcho there, Levi. Will be more than happy to try to get you a spot, and we'll put you right into our Bridges Programming slot. So please help us. We'll be back soon. Okay, this is...
This old world has troubles, everyone knows. There's garbage in all of our lives. We try to get through it, each our own way. And for me, I just eat French fries. Some they take vitamins A, B, and C. Tofu, granola, brown rice. They all give me wheat germ and brewer's yeast, and I put it on my French fries. Some watch the stars, have their charts done, and read all about every sign. I wonder if Taurians every full moon pig out like me on French fries. Some got religion, devotion, and guilt. Charity and grace are divine. I hear things are hotter than ever in hell, but in heaven, do they have French fries?
Do you want to show the globe? Put it right in front of that camera.
Some say the armies, bombs, and the guns will one day save all of our lives. I don't believe it. Heat up your pans, make peace, and lots of French fries. This old world has troubles, everyone knows. There's garbage in all of our lives. We try to get through it, each our own way. And for me, I just eat French fries.
Is that it?
That was Kim Wallach, and that was We All Eat French Fries, and I want to
The reason
thank
I'm
Kim
showing
Wallach.
the earth here.
Yes,
Here, bring the picture back so I can see what I'm doing.
okay.
There we are. See, now if you want to visualize, and I probably didn't describe it very well, but if you visualize the globe and how, if you're watching the YouTube, you can see it here, but if you just hear the audio of this, imagine an elephant stepping down on this and flattening it, then what you would see would be his Dymaxion world, because it would be the continents all flattened down, and you'll see that they all join each other. And that's what he realized and he visualized, and that's why he was able to then conceptualize his idea of the world around energy grid. And we're saying that it's even more personal than that, because the energy grid is within each of us, and it's a human renewable energy grid. And you don't show the globe now. Where'd you go?
I gotta get back to the globe here.
Right, you keep switching around. And so, imagine that elephant squishing this flat, and then how do you see the continents? It's all one huge landmass, and then of course the even greater amount of water all around. And we haven't even been here as long as the dinosaurs. We haven't been here anywhere near as long as the dinosaurs, and already we're having huge impacts
ourselves.
on.
And we have a great brain. I believe that if it's God-given or nature-given, we haven't even touched. We think we're so damn smart, but we haven't even got.
Yeah,
and that's what's killing us, by the way. We are intellectually paralyzed because we can't open up our minds and say, we need to get to the next phase, the next thing like gravity.
And in order for that to happen, we have to get out of the stranglehold of this economics as it's practiced now, because it is creating certain mindsets that are leading us to these destructive practices.
Right.
But Buckminster Fuller talked about the potential of our human minds, and I'll read you the quote.
Go ahead.
Here, just to start the last 20 minutes of the program. Human minds, they have the unique cosmic function, not identifiable with any other phenomenon, the capacity to act as local universe information harvesters and local universe problem solvers in support of the integrity of eternally regenerative universe. So he's saying we're the problem solvers,
right?
And we have the potential to observe with accuracy and create from our observations, and that our minds are unique they're a unique cosmic function. I like the way that he put. I mean, that says it right there. You don't have to restate it. Our minds, are unique. They have a unique cosmic function, and we would assert right now that we're like in a holding pattern, and because the various systems that are controlled by economics at this point, and the excessive emphasis on money and value of money, which is supposed to be just a tool so that we can exchange the essential goods. And that's been lost way back somewhere in history. We left that behind. He was very, very he felt there was a huge power possible within each individual, and he felt that was where the future survival of our species would be, within each individual choice, and he called this each individual's integrity. And here's what he says when speaking to that. When we speak of the integrity of an individual, we speak of that which life has taught the individual by direct experiences. What, if anything, the little, penniless, unknown individual might be able to do effectively on behalf of all humanity that would be inherently possible for the great, impossible for the great nations or great corporate enterprises to do. So he was asserting he wanted to reorganize his life as an individual so that he could accomplish what he felt great nations and great corporate enterprises are incapable of doing.
Because they're not basing themselves on humanity.
They're under so much constraint by what
the economic system is.
Their preoccupation with power and money, that there's no way that they would be able to realize the true integrity of individual mind and creativity of an individual mind. And this is what needs to be released, and people need to extricate themselves, each person in their own way,
right,
from the constraints that have been handed to us from thousands and thousands of years of the same kind of economic activity that we've all been required to practice. He's saying it is the integrity of each individual human that is in final examination. On personal integrity hangs humanity's fate.
Integrity, it's an interesting word, integrity.
And it includes the notions of honesty and clarity of thought. And
as a species, we're not chickens. We as a species, we could have such integrity that if the integrity helps other human beings, but our economic system is stopping, is really breaking down humanity, and it's literally poisoning people. And we, without a measure to say, here's where we are now, and here's where we'd like to go. All human beings have to have their basic needs met. And that should not be a number of money. It should be just met, and it has to be based on energy units, because we are, in fact, renewable energy, all of us. We are renewable energy. There's nothing there's no way you can tell me that I am not a piece of sun that eats food from the sun, has water from the sun. I live a certain amount of time like any tree or a piece of grass, and in 80 years of time, I'll most probably die, or more or less, just like any living thing, tree, grass, whatever. But we have something that gives us the way we can talk about integrity. We have a brain, and somehow, some way, we're supposed to use that brain in such a way to help the planet work. And I don't want to get religious on you, but I don't know how religion said all men are created equal, and this planet this earth should be a Garden of Eden. I just don't understand where that came from, where I can see that this can actually happen. And if all we need to do is to just go to the next level, like energy, which we named just 400 years ago, we all know humanity has to have their basic needs met, and we just need to get the name for it in the vocabulary and the measurement. I think it's that simple. A lot of people disagree with me. They say it's too simplistic. I don't buy it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I'm just listening to you. I wasn't butting in, but it's a strange point in history that we're in, because we're wasting so much, not only in terms of efficiency as far as energy use and time spent doing what would be considered what's really busy work, and driving back and forth and wasting
energy,
fossil energy
and life.
Very inefficient reciprocating energy engines that get 15% efficiency or something. And it's not just that, it's that we're wasting the most important thing. And Buckminster Fuller, he tries to express here what that is. It is the integrity of the human mind. It's the potential of mind, and the real wealth that's possible when it's applied toward livingry, as he calls it, toward survival
To
of
make
the
your
living.
life, to make
Survival of the living. This should be the new mantra that will replace survival of the fittest. It's got to be survival of the living. And this is what the economic system has to rearrange itself around. It has to accommodate survival of the living, not survival of the fittest, survival of the living.
Because we all are alive, and we make sure all humanity,
and all the other things alive, and that will be extended
to
everything.
The grasses, trees, air, water, all of these things must be accommodated. So humanity will. Now we may not deserve to stay around on this spaceship
because we're so human focused,
right?
And maybe dangerously so.
We're too focused on ourselves,
right? And when you just think about the economic system, of course, that's what you're thinking about. But we feel that once basic needs are met for humans, they will think about other things, because you can't care about things you don't know anything about, you don't have personal experience with. And if you don't have time to have personal experience with nature, or with another culture, or with exploring the oceans, maybe in a boat, or taking a walk in the woods, and just examining stuff. If you don't have a personal experience of these things, you can't care about it, and we don't have time. We are selling our time and our lives for busy work and traveling in cars and getting to jobs and being inside buildings, accomplishing jobs that are not wealth generating, are not needs fulfilling our real human needs. And so we don't have time to do the things that would educate ourselves about the larger world around us, the other creatures, have respect for the animals of the ocean that we just look at as food, and how many that can be sucked up into these monster factory ships, so that and most of that discarded, and only the things that
kills livestock for no reason.
We can't care about these things if we don't have real life experiences that help us to care, to have a relationship of some kind that's real, and this time, that it is the freeing up of time of your life, so that you can have these kind of experiences and have these kind of connections, that is essential, especially at this time in history.
By the way, I want to bring something out, that it's very expensive to go to boating but for the first time, you could actually go online and see, if you choose to, you can visit most of these places online.
Oh, you mean see different
continents? Yes.
And,
I mean, if I see a movie, we have a movie on our.
True, there's a lot that you can experience vicariously that way,
right,
but
we
it doesn't replace the real experience.
No, but most people can't do that. We do a movie on our program called "The Infinite Power of Texas." It talks about the different kinds of renewable energy. At the very end, we got permission from Paramount to take the last 3 minutes off of On Deadly Ground, where Steven Seagal makes a speech, and in that speech he shows what's going on with the degradation of the planet. He does a great job with
contamination of the oceans
and
the
tears come to my eyes when I see that piece of work they did. In other words, you can get a really good sense, because of our technology now, on what we can see, but you have to keep an open mind. That's our biggest problem with this HREM, the HREM.org, or the Human Renewable Energy Measure. people are intellectually paralyzed, so they can't open up their mind to understand it. And we find this with most of our really bright friends. They just can't get it.
Well, let's put that in quotes, really bright.
I mean, I put that, I hate to do what Dennis does that. I'll put that in quotes.
Right.
Because
I'll write that down.
But they've been actually so well schooled, not well positively, but negatively. So they can't open up their mind to say.
Well, it's too scary or something, or too uncomfortable for them.
So anyway, that's the part we're getting at. I want to bring that out.
But he actually, you want to hear what Buckminster Fuller has to say
sure.
about that? We still have a little time. He feels, and I think this is part of why people close their minds. He says here, inbreeding of special, frequently employed capabilities has always been accomplished only at the cost of outbreeding general adaptability. So, the more that people are specialized, the less they see a larger view. And it maybe even stops them from being able to think about.
Well, look at our friends. Look at our friends who fly airplanes.
That's all they think about.
All they think about.
Right.
Their whole job is to get airports built.
Right.
To help them.
And their more general thinking, which would take in, notions of, species survival and basic needs met are just not on the radar for these people. They become such specialists in what they are interested in and what they do. And that's another way that the economics makes sure that it will survive. These are all its survival mechanisms. Scarcity, specialization, profit gathering, survival of the fittest. It's you or me competing. There's not enough for everyone. And these are the things that keep our economics healthy, and this dysfunctional economics very, very healthy. It depends on these things being continually reasserted, and having all populations of the earth being told this is the way that it has to be done. This can never be changed. Don't think about it. This is.
Go worry about conspiracy theories.
Right, there's a lot of distractions.
Any cul-de-sac you can get into.
Right.
Watch television. Go shopping. Don't worry about all this stuff. I'm telling you that. Please look at this HREM. If you want it, we're going to be closing.
We're actually
closing soon.
Suggesting that there's something for each individual to protect and defend, and that's our human renewable labor energy, and which is our real property. It's our real property. Everybody has that property, and it's the real wealth, and it's very important to think about this.
Now, if you want to join us on this program,
to keep thinking about it, because you're going to be told not to think about it.
Right. You can't possibly, the best word to it.
Remember, the emperor has no clothes.
What you're doing is impossible to do. It'll never happen. Well, it won't happen unless you do something about it. I'm quoting this from Howard Zinn. And Howard Zinn would say, I guarantee you,
right,
if you do nothing, nothing will happen. But if you do something, something may happen. It doesn't matter who we vote in, or it doesn't matter whether it's a Democrat or Republican.
And you could
come together and help you.
You could even insert the word think there instead of do. You could say, just think something. Your own thoughts.
Get your own.
Try to figure out how to get your own thoughts going, and that's an accomplishment in itself.
So anyway, if you want to do some programming with us, please don't hesitate. It's no cost for you. We'll put you right into the thing. We do a lot of audio on different RSS feeds. There's another name for that. I'm using the wrong word.
Yeah, it's just live streaming.
Live streaming.
Yeah.
So we strip out the audio from our video that we're doing tonight, and anybody can come talk to us on Hangouts on air, and then we put you right into the programming. We please love to get your opinions. And people tell me one day, they said, everybody's entitled to their own stupid opinion. But I don't think they're stupid. I think everybody has an opinion that has some validity because they're thinking. So I don't buy that own stupid opinion thing, but every opinion has value, and the value needs to be, you need
And their value is as simple as being that we're keeping the diversity going. And in diversity, there's always the possibility that a combination will be a better combination, something better for all of us. And we need all of our minds working on this, not just the 1% of minds that are, at this point, playing the economic game at its most efficient, and which, as we said, has nothing to do with efficiency. It has to do with profit, scarcity, competition, wars, weaponry, not as Buckminster Fuller was hoping by now we would be making our technology create livingry, not weaponry.
It's such a shame, and please look up there's several websites.
It's still possible.
Of course, look
just
up.
It's a longer timeline than he envisioned.
Yeah, look up There's Still Time, Brother. That's on another movie. There's Still Time, Brother. Well, there may be. Please look up several websites we were suggesting. I'd like you to, we're going to go out soon, but we'll be back again shortly, and we'll be back. So here we go. Thanks for listening. Please tell people about it.
Remember, we've only been here for maybe 3 million years, so that ain't nothing.
War breaks out somewhere across the sea, and suddenly the price of oil goes up. Your neighbor's out of work because they closed the factory. You try to stretch your paycheck, but it's never quite enough. Oh, energy, energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone. Well, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy. Fossil fuel affects our lives like ripples on a lake. Cars and farms and factories and trucks.
The HREM.org.
Our futures are at stake. And when it's gone, it won't come back, and we'll be out of luck. Oh, energy, energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone. Well, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy. We can get our energy from corn and grass and trees.
Even trash converts to biofuels.
Break loose from the stranglehold of oil companies. Renewables can fuel the world. We're here to spread the news. Oh, energy, energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone. Well, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy.